Hi friends, this video is going to walk you through some of the features that Google Sheets offers. Here I have a sample set of data with student names, the class that they're in, the assignment total for this Unit A assessment, their scores for each of the standards that were assessed within that assessment. So one of the first things that I can do when I have this set up is kind of a new feature where I can actually have this heading text in any sort of way that I want. So if I want it to be vertical, if I want it to be diagonal, I can do that. That's actually a new feature that hasn't been around that long. Another thing that I can do, just like what I can do in Excel, is I can set up this data so that it actually adds the student scores for me. So that when I score the students on their criteria on each of these standards, I just put in the information and it will formulate the total score for me. So to do that, I would click where I want that score to be, come over here to my functions. I want this actually to be the sum. So I'll click sum and I can actually type in the cells right here, D2, E2, F2, or I can drag, hit enter, and it will populate that score, add all those scores up together for me. I can actually duplicate that for each of these students by selecting that row, grabbing the bottom corner of that cell, dragging all the way down, and it will do that exact same function, adding up all of those standard scores for the total score in this assessment for each of the students. I can also use my data and sorting range option to sort this data in a couple of different ways. If I wanted to sort all of this data in order of the highest score to the lowest, I would select all of the data, go into data, sort range, select that the data does have a header row, meaning that there is a title at the top of each column, and then I can select which column I want to sort this by. So I can decide I want to see in order the highest score to the lowest, click assignment, sort, and now it has sorted all of that data for me. I can also figure out the average of each of these or have that populate so that as I'm entering the scores for each student, it will automatically do that. So by doing the exact same thing I did to get the sum of each of these columns, I can do exactly the same thing for the average. So I select the cell that I want that data to be in, click create function, click on function, average, highlight the columns that I want to average, or manually type that into in the middle of the parentheses there, click enter, and it tells me the average for each of these for the total score as well. And I can do that same thing for each of these columns by dragging that bottom right hand corner, and it will tell me the average of each of these standards as well. Another thing that I can do is I can set up this table to where it alerts me if students are below where they should be. So for example, I can select these columns right here and go into Format, Conditional Formatting, and I can set this table to alert me if a student is scoring a 6 or below, just to visually alert me that the student is at the remediation level. So to do that, I've highlighted these cells. I format the cell. I decide how I want to format that cell. I decided I wanted to format that cell if it is less than 7, and I'm going to have it turn that cell red if it is less than 7. I can do the exact same thing, create another rule, if a student is at a 9 or a 10. So format the cell if the score is greater than or equal to 9. And in that case, I'm going to set it to be green. So I have my remediation folks that are showing in red and my mastery folks that are showing in green. Actually, I think I probably should change that to a 10. Done, and it changes it. Another thing that I can do within this table is I can select certain cells that only certain people can edit. So let's say that I have co-teacher that is helping me to enter some scores here, I can select a range by highlighting that range, go into Data, go to Protected Sheets and Ranges, and I can click, I typically, if I do this, will name it co-teacher, and then set the permissions. By doing that, I can restrict who can edit that particular range. I can make it to where it's only me, or I can customize it and put the name of someone who could have the right to edit those particular cells. This person won't be able to edit any other cells, just those particular ones that I have within this range. And the last thing that I wanted to share with you was the ability to publish a Google Sheet so that people who view this sheet don't see the data tools here, they only see the data. So to do that, you go to File, Publish to the Web, and then I can get a link. That link will allow, I'll show you this in incognito mode, that will allow anyone to see just the published information there. So that's a great way to almost take a Google Sheet and do what we do when we create a PDF, but it's just simply staying within Google and you don't have to download anything, which is also great. So there's some quick little tips on how to use Google Sheets more effectively.